There was a time when Britain looked very different. High streets were filled with independent shops, families gathered around a single television, children played outside until sunset, and the roads were packed with cars that have almost completely vanished today. Back then, British motoring had its own character. Cars weren't just transportation, they reflected the people who drove them. Working families, factory workers, small business owners, and young couples all had their favorites. Luxury cars from Jaguar, Rover, Bentley, and Rolls-Royce represented success and prestige. But ordinary British cars told the real story of everyday life. Many of those cars have now disappeared. And in many ways, the Britain they belonged to has disappeared too. Before we begin today's countdown, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories about classic British cars, forgotten motoring history, and nostalgic journeys through Old Britain. Now let's count down 10 British cars that vanished along with Old Britain. And by the time we reach number 1, you may feel like you're looking into an entirely different world. Number 10, Austin Allegro. The Austin Allegro arrived in 1973. Built by British Leyland, it was intended to become one of Britain's most important family cars. The styling divided opinion then and still does today. Yet despite the criticism, the Allegro sold in huge numbers. Most versions used practical 4-cylinder engines that offered affordable motoring. Families appreciated the comfortable ride and spacious interior. For a time, the Allegro seemed to be everywhere. Outside schools, outside supermarkets, outside local pubs. Today, however, finding one on the road is extremely rare. The Allegro belongs to a Britain of local garages, family-run shops, and Sunday drives. A Britain that feels increasingly distant. Number 9, Hillman Avenger. The Hillman Avenger arrived in 1970. Built by the Rootes Group, later Chrysler UK, it quickly became a popular family car. The Avenger offered modern styling and dependable performance. Its range of 4-cylinder engines made it practical and economical. Families liked the car because it felt reliable and easy to live with. For years, Avengers filled housing estates and town centers across Britain. But corporate takeovers, changing ownership, and fierce competition slowly pushed the Hillman brand into history. Today, younger generations often have no idea what a Hillman Avenger even was. Yet during the 1970s, it was part of everyday British life. Number 8, Morris Marina. The Morris Marina arrived in 1971. Built by British Leyland, it was designed to challenge the Ford Cortina. The car featured simple styling and a range of practical engine choices. Workers, families, and business owners all bought Marinas in huge numbers. For several years, they seemed impossible to escape. The Marina represented ordinary Britain. Affordable, practical, unpretentious. Yet despite selling in enormous numbers, very few survive today. The roads where Marinas once dominated now look completely different. And that makes the car a powerful reminder of how much Britain has changed. Number 7, Austin Maxi. The Austin Maxi introduced many British drivers to the idea of a practical hatchback. Built by British Leyland and launched in 1969, the Maxi offered flexibility that many rival cars lacked. The large interior and folding seats made it perfect for growing families. Long holidays became easier. Shopping trips became easier. Everyday life became easier. People liked the Maxi because it worked. It wasn't exciting, but it was useful. And useful cars often become beloved cars. Today, the Maxi has almost completely disappeared from Britain's roads. Yet many families still remember traveling thousands of miles inside one. Number 6, Vauxhall Viva HC. The Vauxhall Viva HC became one of Britain's most familiar small family cars during the 1970s. Built by Vauxhall, it offered affordable motoring with straightforward engineering. The styling looked modern for its day. The engines were economical and dependable. Young drivers often chose a Viva as their first car. Families trusted them for daily transport. For a while, they seemed to be parked on every street. Then they gradually vanished. Today, spotting a Viva feels like stepping back into another era. A reminder of a Britain before smartphones, internet shopping, and modern traffic filled with SUVs. Number 5, Ford Cortina Mk3. Few cars represented everyday Britain quite like the Ford Cortina. Introduced in 1970 by Ford UK, the Cortina quickly became one of the nation's favorite family cars. The sleek styling looked modern and confident. Buyers could choose from several engine options depending on their needs and budget. The Cortina became popular with everyone from office workers to tradesmen. Families trusted it for holidays. Businesses relied on it for work. And local streets seemed packed with them. Today, however, the sight of a Cortina is becoming increasingly rare. The car belonged to an era of manufacturing pride, local communities, and a very different Britain. Its disappearance mirrors the changes that transformed the country itself. Number 4, Triumph Dolomite. The Triumph Dolomite brought a touch of style to everyday motoring. Built by Triumph and launched during the early 1970s, the Dolomite combined attractive design with practical family car usability. The interior felt slightly more premium than many competitors. The engines offered respectable performance, and some versions became surprisingly sporty. Drivers liked the Dolomite because it looked sophisticated without being expensive. For years, Dolomites could be seen parked outside offices, shops, and suburban homes. Today, they have become a rare sight. Like many aspects of Old Britain, the Dolomite has gradually faded into history. Yet those who remember them often do so with great affection. Number 3, Rover SD1. When Rover introduced the SD1 in 1976, it looked like the future. Built by Rover, the car featured sleek hatchback styling that stood out immediately. The shape looked modern, aerodynamic, and exciting. Inside, the cabin felt spacious and comfortable. Engine choices ranged from sensible everyday units to powerful V8 versions. People admired the SD1 because it looked different. It looked ambitious. It looked like Britain embracing a new era. Yet despite its success, the SD1 gradually disappeared from the roads. Today it serves as a reminder of a time when British manufacturers still dreamed big and competed with the best in the world. Number 2, Ford Escort Mk2. The Ford Escort Mk2 became one of the most recognizable cars Britain has ever produced. Introduced in 1975, the Escort quickly became part of daily life. Millions were sold. Families owned them. Young drivers learned to drive in them. Workers relied on them. The simple design and dependable engineering made the Escort incredibly popular. At one point, it felt impossible to travel anywhere without seeing dozens of Escorts. Today, the roads look very different. Most Escorts have disappeared. Yet for many people, the car remains one of the strongest symbols of Old Britain. A Britain of family holidays, local garages, and quieter roads. Number 1, Morris Minor. And finally, the car that perhaps feels most connected to a Britain that no longer exists. The Morris Minor. Introduced in 1948 by Morris Motors, the Minor remained a common sight throughout the 1950s, 1960s, and even into the 1970s. The design was simple, friendly, and instantly recognizable. The dependable four-cylinder engine helped earn a reputation for reliability. Families loved the Minor because it was affordable and easy to maintain. Small business owners relied on them. Teachers drove them. Shopkeepers drove them. Entire communities seemed built around cars like the Morris Minor. The Minor belonged to a Britain of corner shops, milk deliveries, local post offices, and neighborhoods where everyone knew each other. Seeing one today feels almost like stepping into a photograph. It represents a slower pace of life, a different set of values, and a version of Britain that has largely disappeared. That's why it takes the number 1 spot. Because when people think about the Britain that once was, few cars capture that feeling better than the Morris Minor. It doesn't just feel old. It feels like another world. These cars were more than machines. They were part of Britain's identity. They carried families through everyday life. They sat outside schools, factories, football grounds, and local shops. They witnessed generations growing up. And as they disappeared, much of the Britain they belonged to disappeared too. Today, modern cars are faster, safer, and more advanced. But many people would argue they lack the character these cars once had. Because sometimes a car becomes more than transportation. Sometimes it becomes part of a nation's memory. And that's exactly what these cars became. So which of these vanished British classics do you remember? And which one brings back the strongest memories of Old Britain? Let us know in the comments below.